Welcome to Music Matters Podcast with Darrell Craig Harris, talking about all things music with celebrities, artists, music business insiders, and more.
Monique Powell, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you.
So you are from an awesome band, Save Ferris. The music just puts a smile on your face. I love ska music, which is kind of your roots. I'm an Orange County boy, as we were just talking about. So I kind of grew up with a lot of the ska bands hitting pretty hard. A lot of great local, obviously, no doubt in those bands too. But so you've got a lot going on. You've got a spring tour that's going to be United States. You've got summer shows, festival shows, Europe and UK. You have a very special show. I think you're kind of billing it as the post Valentine's Day show on February 15th, Garden Amphitheater in Orange County, with a bunch of special guests. So how are you doing? Sounds like you're very busy.
So busy. And I'm so grateful for it because I'm happiest when I'm working, And this show at the Garden Amphitheater on the 15th is for me, it's the most special show of the year because we usually do around Christmas time, we usually do a hometown show. And we had to push it this year because we had some other shows booked. And the fact that this is in Garden Grove, which is where I grew up partly, makes it just that much more special. So I always go all out for this one hometown show every year.
Yeah,
so this will be our 2024 one.
Awesome. And you guys have had a long history. And you have on that show, you have a bunch of special guests, which we're going to come back to. But so Save Ferris, it seems like obvious where you might have gotten the name, but tell me, how did the name come about?
Well, it's from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. We were just huge John Hughes fans back in the 90s,
Yeah, he was hitting hard back then.
hitting so hard.
So you guys, I know when I first heard of your band, you had a really popular cover song of "Come On Eileen" by Dexy's Midnight Runners, and that was that 97 when that was released?
Yes, it was about 97, 96, 97.
And that's on your album, It Means Everything, right? That was right. Epic Records, I think.
That's right. Wow.
Yeah, I know. I do my homework. So it's really fun. So how did you what were some of your early influences and how did you get into ska music and that kind of vibe?
I like to credit my sister. She's, I talk about her in just about every interview because she's really my most favorite person in the world. And I love her. She's 11 years older than me. And when she was going to Pacifica with the Offspring,
right. Okay.
Before they were the Offspring and I was just maybe 8, 9, 7, 6 years old. K-Rock was a relatively new alternative radio station in Los Angeles. I'm sure you remember that.
Oh, yes.
And they were playing all of these British import bands, and the Specials were one of them. And my sister also had friends coming over that were punkers and rude boys and rude girls. And I was just enamored with her, everything about my sister. She was just this beautiful 6 foot tall, still is this beautiful 6 foot tall, olive skinned goddess. And but as a little girl,
you're like, oh my God, she's like my hero.
She's my hero.
Awesome.
And so she was listening to K-Rock and the Specials and Dexys. And then there were all these local punk bands she was listening to. And so that was kind of, and the Go-Go's. And that was kind of my earliest musical influence. I mean, other influences as well, but definitely the Specials were a big part of it.
Yeah, there was a lot, in that kind of late 80s kind of era when you were like a little girl. I'm a lot older than you are, but I think. But that was, and also in Orange County, obviously very rich, vibrant music scene happening. And a lot of the bands, the Specials was one of the bands that really stands out to me because we kind of talked about, I was an Orange County boy. So we were getting the punk rockers, we were getting the ska music. And then you kind of also, when you got started, did you start down there? Did you start in LA? How did that happen with the band?
So, when it technically started for me singing in bands was when I was going to Cal State Fullerton.
Oh, okay.
And I was an opera major.
Nice.
And I had already been going to shows a lot because we had this thriving scene here already with like Sublime and No Doubt and Real Big Fish. And I actually saw one of their first shows at the high school I ended up transferring to when I ended up going to school with those guys.
Wow. Awesome.
Yeah. So I transferred to the School of the Arts and in Orange County. And when I transferred, that's when I got to know the Real Big Fish guys and the Suburban Rhythm guys. And when I was going to Cal State Fullerton, I saw the Skeletones play on my campus. And I was like, because I was like really into the Body Snatchers and, lots of lots of
different bands, right?
Lots of different bands at that point, but lots of different kind of old school type of ska. And so when I was going to Cal State Fullerton, all my friends were getting into bands and playing locally, and I was seeing their shows, and they were like, you're a singer. Why aren't you in a band? And I was like, well, I sing opera.
Yeah. There's that.
Yeah, there's that.
Although that's a great, in a way, as you know, down the road, you learn how to like save your voice. There's a lot of great things that come from learning opera.
Well, all these years later, like 30 years later,
exactly.
I'm so grateful for that training.
Right.
Those years of training that I had, because it allowed me to, it allows me to still play shows one after the other without a day off.
Right. Yeah. The touring life.
Yeah. My body will break down before my voice does now.
Yeah, exactly. So when you guys got signed, and actually, so you won a Grammy. Tell me about the Grammy contest that you guys won. This is before you got signed.
So the Naris Foundation, who puts on the Grammys every year, had like a best unsigned band in America contest. And someone entered us for that. I'm not sure. And I'm not sure if because I was Say Ferris's first manager, I think. So I'm not sure if I was managing the band at the time or if we had some other guy managing us at the time. I'm not sure who put our name in.
Right. Yeah. You're just trying to find gigs and trying to get seen.
Yeah. We're like, cool, we'll do it. So, we played the Whiskey and then we won, and then we played another show and then we won, and then they flew us to New York, and David Massey was one of the judges, and we won that.
Crazy. Yeah. Crazy.
Which was crazy. I mean, who would have thought? David Massey, who was head of A&R for Epic at the time, was one of the judges, and then signed us right off the bat.
That's awesome. And how when you guys originally got together, have you always kind of been the kind of the leader of the gang, or you have a partner with the band, or how does that work for you guys? Because I know you've had a lot of members over the years, as we all have, but.
Yeah, we had a lot of members over the years. We had a lot of players over the years. I mean, I feel like I've been kind of the only consistent member, but
yeah. Well, you're the kind of the face of the band, which is good.
I guess. I mean, that's just how it ended up.
Yeah, that's okay.
It's not necessarily how I thought it was going to be, but
right.
That's how it ended up. So, hey, you know what? We got people who love the band, so I'll show up for them till the day I die, if I can.
And you're fortunate too, because down where you live, there's a lot of great musicians, and you also have, I know the show you have coming up on the 15th, you have a lot of guys sitting in with you. And so tell me about that. Like when you do a show like that, a hometown show, and there's so many folks that over the years, is it just invite everybody, or how do you guys approach that?
Well, I don't want to inconvenience my friends too much. So I sort of reached out to my friends that were local first, like Johnny Two Bags from Social Distortion, who I know lives in Orange County.
Right.
And I don't know if Brooks and Warren, so Brooks from Bad Religion and Avenged Sevenfold, the drummer, I don't know if he's going to come out, or Warren from the Vandals, but I know they're local. So I reach out to them. And then the Goldfinger guys, they're still in LA, but I reached out anyway because they're my besties. So, and then we came out. And then Scott from Real Big Fish, who's one of my besties as well, who is also who literally lives like right around the corner from where the show.
Yeah.
So I was like, I gotta ask Scott.
Yeah, and so you've got you have the show, you have the touring, but you also have a new single coming out. And tell me about that, because I know that hasn't been released yet, but you're working on getting that out.
Yeah, so I wrote the song, and it was with Michael Bradford, and he produced it. And yeah, it's just like a really catchy ditty, like ska ditty, like mid-tempo, and it's really cool. It's just like about going to shows and getting together with your friends and listening to great music, and the fact that like when you're at a ska show, everybody dances.
Yeah, you kind of can't really help dancing in a ska show.
People don't really do that so much anymore.
Yeah, that's true, and it's something that we kind of grew up with, like going to those local Orange County shows with the house parties, and like
right on.
Yeah, and I miss that. I mean, like, you know, we're living by the beach, and the weather's great, the summertime, right? All that stuff.
Oh God, I wish you could come out for the show.
Yeah, well, who knows? Maybe I can. I don't have to.
That would be amazing, because it's so much like the old days in so many ways. Like the show has definitely changed and grown, and it's so much more developed than it ever was. But the audiences and the vibe still stays the same. And, you know, our motto is ska now more than ever. Like we need it now more than ever, because we all just need to be able to go to a show and feel that feeling like you and I used to feel when we were kids.
Right. Yeah. Have the positive energy in your with your friends in a cool environment. There's nothing better than that, right?
Nothing. And that's kind of what the song's about. You know?
And how many guys, so you guys have a big band. How many people are on stage usually when you're like, if you're touring, how many members do you take with you?
So we scale it down for tours, which is 6 people.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Because I've seen photos and it was like a lot of people, but it probably depends though, right?
Yes. I mean, I had to scale it down because financially it's just like, whoa, like you got to be Gaga or Swift status to be able to have a full ska band.
Right. They have the horn section. Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Have like
especially these days, it's pretty challenging touring.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah. So that, yeah, that's a challenge, especially with the ska thing, because you kind of want the horn section when you can do it, but it's not so cheap to take 15 people on the road.
No. No, but we have, 2 horns. We have trombone,
cool.
trumpet,
Awesome.
And they're exceptional. We have Pritchard and Tristan. And then, for the show on the 15th, maybe there'll be some more horns coming out. We'll see.
Awesome. So when you guys are writing tunes, how does that work? Are you writing by yourself? Do you write with some of the other members when you're coming up with new pieces and new set material?
Well, yeah, with this album, I collaborated with Michael Bradford, and and that was amazing. I enjoy collaborating only because, I need new influences, musically. It's very it's very inspiring for me to be able to write with other people and through their influences and through their style.
Yeah, so you kind of keep the nucleus of the vibe, but you're always looking for new input, new ideas.
For sure. It's very it really awakens my mind and inspires me. And so that's typically what I do. The last record, I wrote some songs by myself, and I had a lot of help from John Avila, the producer, and Joe Barry and Patrick Ferguson on the last record. And those were people that were playing in the band at the time, Joe Barry and Patrick Ferguson.
Awesome. When you guys do your live set, are you playing a mix of covers and all originals, or are you kind of doing all originals? What's your take on that?
Well, it's funny because of Come On Eileen, I'm always like, I don't want to put another cover on the record ever again.
Right. You gotta get tagged, but I should say that's a great song, and you guys do a great version of it. But
thank you. And I really if we're going to do a cover, I like to sort of, this is stupid, but I like to Ferrisize it, and make it more our style, a little bit more our style. I feel like, if you're going to hear a cover song, you either listen to the original that sounds like the original, or you listen to the band doing it in their style that's covering it.
Right.
Well, like, I don't want to hear someone doing the song exactly the same
Yeah. Well, what's the point of that?
as a cover. It's like, what's the point, you
Yeah.
know? And so for me, if we're going to do a cover, we try and sort of make it a little bit more our style. So for this show, we are doing more covers. Like we're actually doing, so Johnny from Social Distortion, we're doing one of his songs.
Oh, awesome.
His original songs, which is so beautiful. And I really think it's going to create just a lovely moment on stage. And I'm so excited to be playing with him.
Yeah, Social Distortion. That's a band that I grew up with. Black Flag, all those all those bands. So they're still good. They're still touring, which is awesome, right?
They're still touring, and and Johnny is so talented, and I've known him literally since the 90s. Like,
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you it's nice to be able to root for your friends. I'm sure they're rooting for you guys to be successful. And it's great to see your friends out touring and still being relevant, right?
It is. It is. I'm just always so enamored with our industry. Like, I'm almost brought to tears sometimes when I think about, the time has gone by in a flash. 30 years has just gone by in a flash. And I see how all of us have grown, and everyone has kids, or they're married, or on their second marriage, or they're, whatever. But I'm so proud to see how all of us have grown up, even Brooks, like, he's in Avenged Sevenfold now. And
right. Yeah. I know the Wackermans. I used to go to the dad's house first. I studied with Bob, the bass player, Wackerman. Yeah. And I know Chad, all those guys. Yeah.
Yeah, I grew up going to that house too.
Yeah, and that's for people that don't know, the Wackermans is a drumming legacy family. And Brooks, I saw Brooks when he was playing with his dad's junior high jazz band when he was like 8 years old.
Yeah, I mean, he was, and he, like, to see, like, Mr. Wackerman was the jazz teacher at our high school, LaSalle.
Oh, okay. Yeah, legendary guy in Orange County.
I've known the Wackies since, high school. And so it's just so beautiful, to see, how everyone's just grown up and, you've been a part of this with us too. Like, you've seen us all grow up, and
it's awesome. It's such a great legacy, and there's a lot, and everybody that I know in that scene you're talking about, they're all really good people. That's the thing. They're good humans.
They really are. They are. I mean, okay, save for maybe one or two.
Yeah, well, we won't talk about them. But okay. I'll reiterate. I'll say that differently. Most of the ones that we know.
I like to surround myself with the good ones.
I'm exactly.
I like to embed myself in the center of that herd with good people, good energy, positivity, and it's like, if you want to be a part of my posse, you got to bring that sparkle.
Yeah. You know what? And that as you go through this life thing, you learn that. And I think I've definitely learned that. After the whole COVID stuff, and I'm like, I want positive people around me. I want people that uplift me, and that's really important. And that's part of the reason why I do the podcast, because I want to interview people that I actually think have something positive to contribute. If it's somebody that's negative and angry, that's like, I have no interest in doing that.
No. And we're in an industry full of narcissists, you know?
Well, we are. It's part of what we do to a point, but you just got, like, as you know, you got to manage it, especially when you become famous. You've really got to manage it. You got to focus on being humble and making yourself a little smaller to control that whole thing.
Absolutely. You know, and it's been an interesting journey for me to be able to, like, find my voice, but also maintain some humility without being self-effacing, because like, for the longest time when I was in my 20s, I just, really downplayed my talent and downplayed my ability, because I just wanted everybody to like me, and I didn't want to stand out,
Right. Yeah. It's a challenge. Yeah. Figure that out.
That was a challenge. But now as an adult, like, I know a little bit more of my worth, and, I can speak up now. But I'm, it's taken me a long time to find my voice. So I speak up a little bit, and there's trolls who are like, Monique is insufferable, quote unquote. Yeah. But I'm like, dude, it's always like some young dude, like in their like 30s or whatever, who's just like, yeah, this insufferable woman is like asking for what she needs again. God.
Yeah, but you know what? You deserve a lot of respect because you've kept that rolling. You've kept the band rolling for decades, and like that's, as you know, you've dealt with that. You've lived that. It's not an easy thing to do. It's not an easy thing to do in life in general to keep things on track and keep them going. So I think you deserve a lot of respect for that.
Bless your heart. I appreciate that. And I mean, listen, I'm just try and do what I do from a place of love. I love music. I love this band. I love musicians. I love the people who love music. And every single person who pays for a ticket to come to a Save Ferris show deserves that love.
Right.
And because I too know what it's like to be in the audience watching a band and how important that is. And so I try and emphasize that in every show, just how important everybody is. I try and just see every single person in the audience and create moments for them that are special and fun. Can we just forget about our shit for the next 45 minutes, 65 minutes, please?
Exactly. Yeah. And I think I honestly feel like that's why artists and musicians, that's why we're here, is to help people forget about that stuff. Even if it's like you said, if it's for an hour and a half, couple hours, where they can just go do that and enjoy themselves and dance and get sweaty and bounce into their friends on the dance floor. That's such a valuable thing as an artist. That's our mission, I think, a part of the mission. But
you're so right. And I learned it the hard way because I spent some time playing with people and knowing people in the 90s was so hard. I just have to say it was like so hard being a woman in the 90s in this industry. And I don't want any sympathy. I don't need sympathy. But what I'm just saying is that there were no other women around. And it was a lot of like dudes. It was just like, like a sword fest, like everybody trying to one up everybody, ego versus ego. Guys who picked up, their guitars just because they wanted to get chicks and be seen, not because of the art, not because they respected their position on that stage, And for me, I just felt so lucky to be doing what I was doing. The fact that anyone gave a shit about our stupid music.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
You know what?
Worthy of you.
Yeah, a lot of people care. It's actually funny because I mentioned my wife I was going to be interviewing you, and my wife saw you guys in Mexico. And she's like, oh my God, that was the best show. And it's funny because I've always heard of the band, and I remember the Dexys Midnight Runners, the cover, but it's nice to know. Yeah, she was very excited. So that's awesome.
Bless her heart. We'll bring her to the show too on Saturday.
I know I should, right?
Yeah.
What's your advice? And I know this is kind of a big question these days, but what's your advice for young independent artists, people that are trying to get their band off the ground? What's some of the most important things that you've learned?
Surround yourself with good people who will be honest with you, but who also lift you up. Create your tribe early because you're going to need them. You'll hit some low points, and that's when you're going to need someone to reach out to. And so if you have your tribe, boom, you're safe. I've seen too many of my friends suffer, some die, because they didn't have that.
Right. The support and a shoulder to cry on sometimes.
Yeah. And some people are just like lucky, like they're born with parents and a family who surrounds them and keeps them safe, but not all of us are. So we have to create our own family and our own safety. And I wish that for every young artist who's starting out. And also do it because you love it. Really go down deep. Ask yourself, do I love doing this? Because there's going to be a lot of times where you're challenged and you're going to have to reach down deep and say, I do this because I love it, not because for any other extraneous reason. Because when it comes down to it, it's the love that's going to get you through for real.
Yeah, I've always said that, like, I'm a musician and I've done this all my life too, as we were kind of talking about. And yeah, I always tell, if you can't dissuade them from doing it, that's the only time you should probably really try to do it.
Yeah.
Because it's hard. And as we all know that, I mean, we all know, hey, it's hard to be a musician. It's hard to be an artist. But yeah, you've got to make it last. Like I said, as long as you've made it last and you've hung in there and you've been the kind of the captain of the ship, that it deserves a lot of praise and a lot of admiration. I think it's definitely not easy. And you got to figure out, okay, how am I going to pay for this? How am I going to put the hotel rooms together? And I got to put this guy with that guy in the bus. And
I always say that. I always say, like, oh my God, I was never prepared for the other stuff. Like, all I did was learn how to sing. And that's all I really wanted to do, was just sing, because I feel like I had this gift and I needed to share it. And that was what was the right thing to do. But then all of this other stuff came in, managing and, being a boss and making all these decisions and learning how to do all this
That's
stuff.
all the stuff you didn't sign up for.
Did not sign up for that.
Right. Yeah.
So I try and remind myself that, like, this is fun. I am lucky to have this job. And, like, I could be doing something else, but this is where my heart is. And so yeah, there's a lot more that comes along with the job, unfortunately and fortunately, because I also get to be like a designer and an artist, and I get to run this business in a way that is conducive, or at least I try. And listen, I've made a lot of mistakes, but that's because I didn't know what the hell I was doing.
Yeah, you got to just figure it out. Yeah, make it work.
I had to figure it out the hard way. And unfortunately, I've made some mistakes. And for that, I'm so sorry. But for the rest of it, I had to figure out where my priorities lie. And my priorities lie in running this business with the same air of, like, love and support and positivity as I feel this band brings in their live show. I try. It's not always like that, but man, I sure try.
Yeah, you know what? That's all you can do. And if you're surrounding yourself with players and musicians and people that love you, and they get that you're trying your best, then you're golden. Because they're gonna go through hell. They're gonna go through the broken down van and the flat tire on the road. They're gonna deal with all that shit because they're there for you. That's super important.
Yeah, and we're all in it together. And I try and I try to show the love and respect to the musicians and the artists that we deal with, like, that I feel that they deserve, and I feel that they deserve a lot.
Yeah, that's awesome. Tell me how people can find you. I know you have a website. Give me all the website, social media stuff, and I'm going to also include it in the episode text. But
thank you. Well, like SaveFerris.com, obviously, and then you can always find us on Instagram at Save Ferris Official Band. We just finally got our official status on Instagram. Thank you, Instagram. 30 years, I think.
Yeah, all the fake pages out there.
So many. Yeah. So that's kind of like, and we're also on Twitter, and we're on Facebook as Save Ferris.
Right. And you have you just posted the full schedule for the US tour coming up. So people check that out, and it's really an awesome schedule. I admire that, because it's going to be a very busy spring for you. And also too, I'm going to get this. We're doing this February 12th. This is going to go out tonight, so people will be able to hopefully hear it and get ready for your awesome show on February 15th, Garden Amphitheater in Orange County, with a list of awesome musicians and friends and cohorts.
Right on.
Yeah, so everybody please check that out. Thanks so much for taking the time. It's really you guys are a band that I've always heard of and I've admired for many years. It's really fun to be able to actually talk with you and get your perspective. It's really interesting.
Likewise, and thank you for having me on the show. And wow, so great to talk to a another hometown friend.
A homie. There you go. Yeah, we actually kind of had rival high schools, but we won't talk about that.
We actually did. Unfortunately, I didn't spend a lot of time going to like football games, but I know about the rivalry.
Well, I was in the marching band geek drum corps guy, so that was me.
Are you a drummer?
I'm known as a bass player. I was with Cirque du Soleil for many years, and then I played drums. I played drums in the Velvet Knights, Orange County drum corps guy. So yeah, I have a various adventures musically.
Oh my gosh, that is so cool! Wow, you don't mess around, bro.
Yeah, we have a lot of mutual friends. I'm sure if we sat down and went through our Rolodex, we'd probably know a lot of the same people.
A lot of the same people, for sure. Small town.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much, Monique. Everybody, please check out Save Ferris. Check out the dates. Make sure you go up to the show on February 15th. And really awesome. Thank you so much, Monique.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Great. Have an awesome day.
Thanks. You too.
Thanks for joining us, and please consider subscribing to our podcast and follow us on our social media pages for guest announcements.